They'll blanket you in Wi-Fi and profit off the radiation. Congregation collecting the people for that Satan. I keeps it blazing, cause I can read between the lines. I ain't blind, we unwind what they're really saying. Genetically modify what you're tasting. Don't need that cottage promise, so now you live up in your mom's basement. Redesign time so your mind is always wasted. Programmed to crave the basics. Keep the beta in stasis. Pay the state, kid. You're in debt for being born. Messengers are more than just the price for being warned. Don't be alarmed. Disconnect from their machinations. Stop subscribing to the folly of own nations. Bone breaking ain't the answer, cause they seek the ownership of souls. Spread the seeds and watch them grow. Break the chains of control. Break the chains of control.
Sweet eternal balance of all that is good, true, and beautiful, friends. Tonight on Rogue Ways, we get the huge pleasure of connecting with a soul who has traveled far and through much hardship, personally and interpersonally, in order to arrive where he's at now, 48 years young and looking like a person half his age, feeling like a person a third his age, and sharing his amazing energy with us like a person a quarter his age. Here to share his secrets and keep you bathing in the fountain of youth is Tim James of Chemical Free Body and Health Heroes podcast. Tim, how are you tonight? It is a pleasure to have you here on Rogue Ways.
Lindsay, you got me all excited.
Yeah.
Wow, what an introduction. I better pull it off. I better pull off a good interview here.
I think I got faith in you. You can do it.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Before we jump in, I do want to invite everyone to come get the newest book, The Key of Transformational Healing. It is on the site. You can get it signed by me. You can get the download if you want to do it electronically. I love to send it out to you signed because I get to channel a little message for you from Source, and it's like beautiful and inspiring for me when I get to read what Source is saying to you. And then you get the book, which is full of Source messages as well. So come grab that. I also now have the quadruple book bundle, which is Sine Curve of Aeons, its sequel, Earth, A Trough in Time. Those are the fictional ones. And then All Endings Are Beginnings, The Oracle, and The Key of Transformational Healing all together at once for a steal of a price. So if you really like to read, you could get them all. And now back to you, Tim. Pointless question of the episode for you. I'm going to ask you, what is the best pet to have?
One that likes you.
That's a very good answer. It's not fun to have a pet that doesn't like you.
Yeah. Maybe some like crazy bird that wants to bite your finger off or something. You want a nice bird or a nice kitty cat or a little doggy.
I had a friend that had a cat that hated us, and it was a nightmare. Yeah. So you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah. Actually, cats, like there was this my kid's mom, she had got this rescue cat. It was abused, and man, I tried really hard, but it would just, I mean, literally, like if your legs were dangling over the bed and it was underneath there, it'd whack your feet. And just like, it's like, what's going on? I'm like, I'm not even doing anything to you.
And that's like the demon that we're all afraid of when we're young. There's like something under there. It's actually coming to get your feet.
Yeah, well, it was a cat.
It was a cat. By the way, I love your sweatshirt. I'm the weirdo that talks about poop, so apparently you are too.
Yes, yeah. For those listening, it says love when you poop, because for me, pooping was a very painful process followed by blood for 2.5 years. So I had some serious gastrointestinal issues. I was, heading down a slippery slope with my health, didn't know what the hell I was doing, and was able to get lucky enough to figure it all out. And here we are, or here I am, healthy. Super healthy.
And it's cool. That's a good sweatshirt to wear too, because some people are going to be like, wait, what? And then some people are going to be like, I don't actually, so can you help me? Please.
Yeah, it's actually a major issue today. Gastrointestinal issues are, easily over 90% of people have them at some level.
Yeah.
Or they don't even know it. Some people just don't even know what's going on.
That's true too. You can suffer from these things for so long and just think like, well, that's just my constitution. It's like, well, I guess, but you could do something about it. But for some reason, doctors don't seem to know that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's inside and you can't see it. That's the problem.
Yeah. Well, and you don't always feel it like as pain necessarily. Sometimes the disruption is happening and the poop isn't coming easy or it's coming too easily, but it doesn't necessarily hurt. And you're like, oh, I guess that's just what happens.
We can definitely get into that if you want. When I tell my story, I kind of go into some detail on how I was, educated on my gastrointestinal tract. And I'm like, like, how come I wasn't taught this in school,
Yeah. Well, I would love to do that. I do want to ask you first if you've always been into health and fitness and wellness.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, not at the level I am now, but I was more of a, growing up, I grew up on a cattle and hay farm. I was kind of hunting and fishing. So I was up hiking the woods all the time. I put myself through college cutting firewood, and I played baseball for 30 years. So I played college baseball and then some adult men's leagues and some little semi-pro stuff. And so I was very competitive. And if somebody said, like they did, they were like, "Hey, if you want to get big muscles and hit the ball far, have a protein shake." And I'm like, "What's that for?" "To build muscle. You need protein." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, what do I do?" "Well, you just put some milk in a blender and put a scoop of soy protein in there with a bunch of peanut butter and a banana and blend it up with some oatmeal and drink that after you work out and you'll have huge muscles." So me and my buddy, man, okay, we'll do it. So people actually want to get healthy. They want to build muscle. They want to be strong, but the approach is most of the time completely wrong. And all you have to do is look around at society, and what's happened today is very sad. We are actually the sickest human beings have ever been since we've walked the face of the earth. We've never been sicker than we are today. And I was talking to somebody like a week ago, and I said, it's so sad now, but our children are being born overweight, obese. Our children are being born with type 2 or with diabetes. And then I saw my son got on TikTok, so I got a TikTok account so I could see his little deal, whatever he's doing. And I saw a kid on there that was born with cancer, and I'm just like, all right, that's it. Right? It's just getting. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. And I mean, look around. People are, was like 80% of us are overweight, obese, or morbidly obese. 38% of children are obese, overweight, and I'm just like, what? I mean, when I was a kid, there was like one or two overweight kids in the whole class. Now it's like, 40%, almost half, and it keeps everything's climbing. So we have to be intelligent people. We have to be be an intelligent system, and we really just have to change our inputs and learn how the body works. And that's that's what I'm here today for, is hopefully to share some of that with people so they can get their health back like I did.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And it's true. And people think like, oh, we've had so much progress. Like people live longer now than they ever have and more comfortably.
Not
And
true.
it's not true at all. And people don't know that because we have this lie of like better living through chemistry and progress and technology and all of this stuff. It sounds nice, but like you said, just look around. Go take just a poll of your few neighbors. Like, how many health issues do you have? How old are you and how many health issues do you have? And like you said, babies being born in this way is so
Yeah,
sad.
it's crazy. It's crazy. I was actually in the insurance industry and they were talking about that because they can't lie about it now. Now they're actually saying people are living less because the numbers were skewed on that. I just want to bring that up. It's an important point because, oh, well, we're living longer. Well, really? Are you sure about that? Who you believe in? Again, if you look around, if we're getting sicker and sicker and more overweight, how could we possibly be living longer? How could you have worse health and live longer? That doesn't even make sense. Okay, it doesn't make sense at all if you use common sense. But a lot of people don't take time to pause and reflect and use their own thinking. They just go with whatever they see on TV or the news and in print. And it's just like, those things are propaganda machines 24/7 lying to us. That's why people are probably tuning into you because news is dying and all that. They just lie. They're just lying all the time. So I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
Just how sad it is how sick people are, and the lie that we're living longer now, and that you can actually
Oh
go
yeah, the
look
living
and
longer. I've
see.
never actually talked about this before in an interview. That's probably why I forgot about it. So anyway, what happened is that it was advances in prenatal care were skewing the numbers because back in the day, like in the 1800s, if a woman if a child died at pregnancy, which happened quite a bit, then that would be a death at basically zero. And if somebody lived to 100, that 100-year-old plus the child that died at zero, is average age is 50. And a lot of times the child and the young mother in her late teens, early 20s would die. And so there'd be two people dragging that number down. So with advances in prenatal care, being able to save babies with like C-sections and stuff like that, that threw the numbers off. But the reality is we're actually living less and our quality of life is super terrible. Right. So the people that are living the longest, they're called centurions, right? Because they live to 100. There's places called the blue zones. Have you heard of that? Right. These are people that have lived. They have the highest concentration of centurions, people that live over 100. These are places
Italy.
like Loma Linda, California, Sardinia, Costa Rica, Okinawa, Japan. There's these isolated areas around, and they went and interviewed all these people and researched them and found out what the heck are they doing to live so long. 4 common factors. Number one, they have lifelong friends, and they spend a lot of time together. So that's why social isolation is stupid, because it actually takes years off your life. We're social beings.
Shock.
We're tribal.
Everybody hide in your
Number,
house. It'll be really good for you.
yeah, go hide in your house, and don't do what gives you the most longevity, and hide from the sun, which boosts your immune system and gives you vitamin D. It's stupid. Don't do that. Number two was they respect their elders, right?
I love
And
that.
in a lot of these countries around the world, the elders they're taken care of, and they live with the family, and they contribute, and they tell stories, and they're kind of they watch the kids when mom and dad want to go have a date night. This is like nowadays, like grandma and grandpa get old and they're losing it because of the standard American diet and all the pollution that's bioaccumulated in the cells and the fat and the muscle tissue in the brain. They just throw them into a nursing home and then pollute them with more chemicals, and nobody sees them. I used to work in one of those nursing home deals when I was in my early 20s, and it's pretty sad. It's pretty sad what's going on. So number one, lifelong friends. Number two, respect elders. Number three, they exercise daily. They just move their body. They're doing something. They're hiking up and down, doing the grapes, or like a lot of the people in Loma Linda are actually Seventh-day Adventist, which they happen to be plant-based. But they exercise every day. They walk, they jog, they hike, they do a lot of that stuff. And the fourth one was that they eat 80% plant-based diet or greater. So small amounts of meat, lots of fresh plants, and fresh is kind of the key there. So there's your recipe for success. Everybody's listening here. It's like, how do I live to 100? Make sure you have lots of good friends, like and trust. Number two, make sure that you're taking good care of your kids so they respect you. Number three, you move your body daily. Number four, you eat lots of plants. Pretty simple formula.
Yeah. It reminds me of the Walls diet, which I really like because it's like one of the few that's been shown to reverse degenerative, especially nerve diseases. And it's 80%, or I mean, I don't know if that's the actual percentage, but it looks like that to my brain when I think back about like what you're supposed to eat. It's mostly plants and then little bits of meat, a little bit of liver and things like that.
And everybody's different. That's this whole approach with one size fits all medicine, that like a 6-year-old little girl and a 45-year-old man and an 82-year-old woman, they all need the same jab. I mean, it's just like, it doesn't make any sense at all. Everybody has like different constitutions and different times in our life where we need different things, and just producing antibodies in the body is like your immune system's like a symphony orchestra, and the conductor's only going to play the oboe.
Yeah.
I'm gonna create antibodies.
And now let's get 500 more oboes in here, quick.
It's just like the whole thing's pretty
madness.
It's pretty silly. I mean, it really is. When I've done so much research on this stuff in the last 11 years because I got tired of being lied to.
Yeah.
And I kind of was opened up to what really works, and the reality is it's nature. I mean, we are nature, and we got to get back to that.
Yeah.
Because that's the solution.
Everyone here is going, yeah, because that's what we say here all the time. We are nature, and nature is the solution to everything, actually, whether we like it or not, whether we help it along, or whether it has to come conquer us because we're not living in alignment with it. But speaking of, you're saying everybody's body, or everybody needs different things at different ages. Someone in the chat, Shannon, asked, and I do really want to get to your story too, but it was just a perfect segue. She said, do you think that different blood types or body types need different things? Have you looked into that at all?
Yeah, that's Dr. Diadamo's work, and I'm kind of mixed on that now, because like somebody that I followed that I'll remain nameless, said that he was a good guy and his heart was in the right spot, but he was completely wrong, because at the institute they've had like 600,000 people through their door, and they put them all in the same lifestyle, and everybody gets better. So there's that. But at the same time, now through Ayurvedic medicine, we're learning that they were actually steeped in system science. Like, it's almost like 10,000 years of biological engineering.
Wow.
But the problem is because they have a different language, and you hear things like karma and vata pitta kapha and karma fall, people over here are like, oh, that's woo woo.
Yeah.
But what that really is karma is like input, karma fall is output, and then vata pitta kapha is transport, conversion, and storage. So for those engineers out there, they know what I'm talking about, because every basic system, it's called a dumb system or an open system, has input, output, transport, conversion, and storage. And then the intelligent systems have a sensor, they have a controller, they have a goal. It's kind of like a thermostat, right? A thermostat, if it's 78 degrees and you want it to be 70, it's going to shut off, the controller is going to shut off the heater until it drops back down and turns on. So it's always adjusting because we always have disturbances, and those disturbances are the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, the stress we have, the clothing we wear, or they could be disturbances or not, depending on what types you're putting in. If you have harmful if swallowed toothpaste, please contact the Poison Control Center type toothpaste. That would be a disturbance to your body if you put that in your body, or if your shampoo says sodium lauryl sulfate on it, which is a known carcinogen, and you're washing your hair with that. That would be a disturbance.
Yeah, there's so much stuff that people don't think about. Like, people buy me sometimes these candles or different things, and they've got fragrance in them, and I'm like,
Yeah, it's
thanks.
synthetic.
And I want to say to them, like, this causes cancer. I love you, and I'm so grateful for your gift, and please stop buying me cancer things. But I'm like, I don't know. Some people I do if I feel close enough, and other times I just take it and then give it away. I should throw it away, really, so I don't subject anyone to it. It's gross.
Yeah, quite a few years ago, I ran into this guy's name was Raed Boutros, and his family is from Egypt, and they were like way, way, way back into essential oils. He's got the hookups for, in fact, his company's called Utati Oils, and first pressed only. And it's like you have to call him and order it over the phone. I mean, it's super old school.
That's awesome.
Hopefully, if there's a bunch of people there, his phone number is going to probably blow up. But I think we have him listed on our website under the recommended product resources. But anyway, I met this guy, and he said that back in Egypt, back in the day, the essential oils were used medicinally.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the things was like that thieves blend, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was because there's the plague came, and there was these people that were running around stealing everything from the people that were sick in their homes, and they couldn't do anything because they were all sick and laying in bed. These people just go in and steal their stuff and leave. And the king found out about it, so he had them arrested. Well, those people were not only thieves, but they were traders, and one of the things they traded was essential oils. So they were dousing themselves in clove essential oil, eucalyptus, like lemon and orange and that kind of stuff. I think cinnamon, some very powerful rosemary, powerful antimicrobials. And it boosted up their immune system, and actually also, was killing viruses and bacteria, so they wouldn't get sick. So they were able to go around and steal stuff from people. That's what they were called, thieves. And that blend, mixing those all together, was called a thieves blend. There's a network marketing company that sells them. I think it's called Young Living. And then doTERRA came out with their blend called On Guard, which is a similar deal.
Yeah.
So anyway, but what happened is that the princesses or whatever, or Queen Latifah, back in the pyramids and stuff, decided that, wow, this smells really good, and I'm going to put it on for perfume, right? Like, that's where perfume got started. It was actually essential oils that were used medicinally, but women started using it because they just liked the smell. And then what happened was, down the road, industry came in, the chemical industry, and then they this is what they always do. They go to nature, they isolate a synthetic derivative from nature, and then they patent it, and then they process it, and then they can make these smells kind of like nature, pretty close, synthetically, and very cheap. Right. So now when you're putting colognes and aftershave and, and perfumes and stuff on, you're actually poisoning yourself. And that goes right into your skin, right into your bloodstream, right into all your tissues. And there's no liver to filter it. And you're breathing it in through your lungs. It is not cool. It is not cool. The people that are selling that stuff should, if they knew what they were doing, they should be arrested for doing it, for what's happening to the public. Just talking perfumes. And we could go on and have a conversation on pretty much every damn thing that people are putting on their body, from sunscreens to lotions and creams and makeups and, everything. You have to read labels. You have to start, being educated and get smart about this, because if you ever want things to change, even though the voting systems are jacked up nowadays and probably have been for decades, we found that out. But
longer.
Yeah, I mean, it's selections. It's not elections. People are thinking, oh, no, it's completely. You guys talk about the weighted race feature and the election software. I don't know what this is. This all health podcast and spiritual?
No,
I don't know.
This is everything: conspiracy, culture, consciousness, health, whatever, everything. So yes.
Okay, sweet. So it's like, but what does count today is your dollars. When you vote with your dollars, if you give your money, I tell people all the time, stop giving your money to companies that are like poisoning you, your children, the fam, everybody, and me, and give it to good companies. And here's a good way to find out if you've got a good company or not, for the most part. All right. So do you remember Burt Bees?
Yeah.
You know that you know how that story got started? The guy was like living in a chicken coop,
Okay.
right?
I don't
And
remember that. I just
and
remember
you make,
feeling
yeah,
like it was
yeah,
supposed to
it's
be really
crazy.
good.
So when you want to find out if a company's good or not, because what happens is when companies have success and they start getting shelf space on these in these big box stores and stuff, well, the big companies don't like that. They want to control that shelf space. But people are always looking for good products, always. So when Burt Bees came out, so what you do is you just type into your browser, who purchased Burt Bees? I haven't done this in a while.
I'm gonna guess Nestle or
Close.
GE.
Clorox.
Ah, okay. Clorox is, I think, owned by Nestle though, so I think I still get points.
Uh-oh, you're smart. Clorox will acquire 100% of Burt Bees. So what happens is these big companies swallow it up. Interesting thing is like, the Brita water filters.
Yeah.
That's actually, they don't work that well, but that's actually owned by Clorox, who's poisoning the water. And then they sell you these little things that don't really do that well.
Yeah.
Just to give you an idea, like they just like sit there and laugh. You stupid little working class people. We're gonna create the problems, then we're gonna give you a fake solution. And it's just like, and then we just like, okay, we just take our hard-earned money, we pay a bunch of taxes, which is slavery all the time.
Yeah.
And then they just put us deeper in debt and then stir up stuff in other countries and get us working people, our country and other company to fight against each other. And all we are is decent people. We don't really want to fight anybody. Nobody. No. It's like, what time is it? Oh, it's the 21st century. What are we doing this for?
Yeah.
So it's about raising consciousness.
Yeah.
So another one you can look at is like there's any of these. Like here's another one that a lot of people are going to be blown away from. Let's type in who purchased Garden of Life.
Yeah.
You know that supplement company?
That was Nestle. That one was.
That one's Nestle.
Yeah.
Nestle.
They ruined it.
Here's another supplement company. Who purchased New Chapter? They're huge. They're in all the like Whole Foods and all that stuff. Who purchased New Chapter? Procter and Gamble.
So let's also point out that when these people purchase these things, they'll change the ingredient list and they'll make them poison, right? So we had I don't remember what it was now, but I would shop at this co-op, right? And there was something that I loved and it was healthy and it was good and whatever. And then one day I looked at the ingredients and it had like one of the fake sugars, not the good fake sugars like stevia, but like the chemical ones. Like aspartame or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, wait, what? How long have I been drinking aspartame?
What they do is that they take that and then they start compromising things. Now, what's unfortunate nowadays is even I've been telling people for years, you have to read the labels. Do not read the front because it's advertising. That's it. Like one time I was told, a long time ago, don't eat wheat, rice, oats, barley, soy, and black beans. There was a few things to stay away from. And I'm like, what kind of rice can we eat? Only 100% wild rice. So I went to the store to get some wild rice first time, trying to improve my health. And I saw wild rice and I was like, yes. And I grabbed it, threw it in the cart and went home. And I was making it and I looked at the ingredients and the first ingredient was freaking brown rice and then white rice. So it was deceptive on the front. It's wild rice. Well, yeah, it's wild rice, but only a little bit. Right. Yeah. So their marketers they are smart. They are smart and they will take your money and they will give you a crappy product if they can. So you have to be careful. So other thing to think about here is like Whole Foods as an example is owned by Amazon, who like I had a undercover Amazon employee come on and tell the inside story of what's going on there. Horrible.
Wow.
It's horrible. It's like slavery, what they're doing to these people. And the pressure they put on them and the stress and all this stuff. And as soon as they can replace them with a robot, they're gone. Yeah. I mean, that's where they're headed. It's just like, does a carbon-based slave work better or a silico-based slave like a robot? And they're just weighing to see which one works better. So I had this guy on and he tells all this stuff that was like horrible and stuff. That same company owns Whole Foods now. Now, if you went to Whole Foods a decade ago, you'll know what I'm talking about. When you go in today, it's different. Mm-hmm. There's way less choice because what Whole Foods does, because they're owned by Amazon, if they find something that works, then they go, boom, they make it themselves. They cheapen it, an organic 365 brand.
Yeah.
Right. So what's happening is centralization of consumer products and stuff like that. And we need decentralization. The model for power, profit, and control is centralization. They want to control everything. The model for truth, freedom, and health is decentralization. Yes. Like that's what we need. So what's going to happen is if we keep buying from these companies, that's why I tell people, stop going to Whole Foods.
Yeah.
Stop going there. Stop buying on Amazon. Go to Amazon and use them as a shopping tool, and then go directly to the company and happily pay extra money for shipping and wait a day or two extra,
It's a great
and
point.
keep your soul, for God's sakes,
Yeah.
because they are literally destroying everything that we hold, a fabric of our nation and the working class.
That's
It's very
absolutely
important that people do this, because you are going to get worse and worse and worse choices and less quality products. You know, somebody like me, I'm going up against everything, because the entire supplement industry is pretty much bonkers. I mean, it's whacked out. I mean, 85% of the supplements in the market are owned by pharmaceutical companies. 92% in total are pure synthetics. Only 8% are whole food or food based and herbal extracts. That's what we do. But those have now been compromised too, because now they're slipping their synthetics in. So I'll give you an example. Like, if you guys are listening, you have a multivitamin or health vitamin mineral formula, and you're looking at it, and it's like, oh, it's got acidophilus in there. It's like, oh, it's got some probiotics, or it's got some amylase in there. It's a really good enzyme, or it's like reishi mushroom. Oh, wow, mushrooms are good. I heard about that. But then you look at vitamin C, and in parentheses behind it, it says ascorbic acid. Well, you just purchased a chemical, my friend, and you're ingesting it. So part of it could be good, and the other part of it could be a synthetic chemical. If it was a good vitamin C, a whole food coming in its full natural form with all of its bioflavonoids and cofactors that you would find in nature, it would say in parentheses behind vitamin C, from the camu berry, or from the arceola cherry, or from the almond berry, as one of my favorites, the gooseberry, also called the almond berry.
I'm growing.
That now you have a whole food form, right? But there's one more thing to look out for. It's the other ingredients, because the other ingredients are also what? They're ingredients, right? And a lot of times these other ingredients are called excipients in the supplement industry. These are binders, fillers, and flow agents. And the reason why they have these, number one, is the encapsulation machines go at very high speed for production. Raw materials from nature will cake up and stop the production. They'd have to clean them all the time. So they put flow agents in, things like magnesium stearate, which actually cancels out digestion. So think about this. You're paying money for a nutrient, and then you're putting something in it that will cancel nutrient absorption. Oh, that's genius. Or how about silicon dioxide? This is a level 3 toxin on the EPA's toxin list, yet it's in most supplements. Check your labels, folks. Or dicalcium phosphate, just to name a few. And when you look at our labels, we tell people all the time, we dare you to read our labels. And if you can see on my label, but I'll zoom in and I'll zoom back out. It says no magnesium stearate, no silicon dioxide, no dicalcium phosphate.
All I see is names of food in there. That sounds good.
Yeah, huge red letters, even bigger than the ingredients list. And why do I do that? Because I want people to it'll come back.
Yeah.
I want people to check their freaking labels. That's what I want them to do. I want them to check their labels, because you have to. Otherwise, you're going to get duped. And it's even worse today, like we said, because now what they're doing, see, our formulator, Dr. Scott Treadway, he's been in this industry for 40 years. Okay. He's one of the top formulators in the world. I had to go through 30 labs and lots of phone calls 8 years ago, when I first started this company, to find him to do it right. It's hard to do. And he said, I'm one of the only people, the only one that allows him to make a formula, and I don't compromise it. We just leave it alone. It's like all nature. He believes, like we do, that we are nature. Nature's the solution. We need to become our own doctors. We need to learn how to self-heal. And we want to make formulas and stuff and natural herbs that are hand-gathered and stuff, and foods and juice extracts available to people. And I thought, because originally I was growing sunflower sprouts and pea sprouts and wheatgrass, and we were delivering those to like 40, 50 cancer patients a week. I was growing them out of my garage. Had this, sprout growing operation. And I was going to do that, but they're very perishable, and it's hard to, and then, with the E. coli salmonella stuff, they're always trying to hammer on you. So I just decided, well, you know what? People are already sucking down pills. I'm just going to make the best ones on the planet, and we're going to make them powerful. So that's what we did. And so Dr. Treadway, he said, what's even worse today is that you can actually read a label, and it can look 100% natural, extracts, food, herbal, but they're not in a lot of the cases. That's why you have to type into your browser who purchased and then name your company's name, because if it got bought by Clorox or Procter & Gamble, or I'm not saying that it's 100%, but it's a high probability that they're doing what Dr. Treadway taught me. And he said what they're doing now is they're taking yeast, which is a naturally occurring substance in nature, and they're force feeding it synthetics. And then somehow magically then synthetics go away, and then they put that in the supplement. And they don't even have to tell you that it's a synthetic because the way the laws are worked. So that's why you have to find people, literally like myself, that I built our supplement line for me, and I will not compromise. And as long as I'm at the helm, you're good to go. If my company gets bought by some big ass company, I wouldn't buy the products anymore. But I'm not going to allow that to happen. So I'm going to write in the eventually what I'm going to do is I want to give the company away to the employees, and I hope that our company, Chemical Free Body, is here forever. And we start pushing back, and we start giving people a better option. We decentralize, and we bring a really good products to people because we want to help people get a chemical free life, and we want to have them have great products so they can come in and they get their air cleaned, their water cleaned, have the best mattresses to sleep on. I've partnered with a lot of places, just as I've been in my search for 11 years, trying to hack every single aspect of my life and my environment. And then we just either partner up with them or we just refer them if they don't have an affiliate deal. We just say, hey, go over there. That's where I got that, and let people try it. And people are getting good results. They're getting real good results on what we've been sharing with them.
I love that so much. I don't know if you've heard about B Corporation status before, but this is another way that people are getting around. You can't buy this B Corporation unless you agree to its exact original charter. And so in the original charter, they can say things like, you can't do this, you can't do this, you have to do this, you have to do this. And other corporations can't do that because they have a fiduciary duty. And the B Corporation is legally exempt from the fiduciary duty. So it doesn't matter who buys it ever. So that's another thing. If anyone out there is trying to get around it, I don't know if that will work for you or whatever, but I love that concept that we have the B Corporation. It's just the letter B.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. Yeah, that's thanks for the reminder on that. I'm not at that stage right now, but excuse me, we will.
If you ever go there,
yeah,
yeah. Well,
we're definitely in growth phase, and our company actually has been. We're like a bamboo tree. Like we've been underground growing for 7 years, and now we're breaking out, and it's everything's coming together right now, and it's exciting. It really is, and people are getting results all over the world. We're shipping all over the place. It's really cool, and I got into this just to help people. After my little brother was killed in a mountain biking accident, I was a financial advisor at the time, and I didn't really have any spiritual practice back then. I didn't know how to deal with his death, and I was really upset. And I wasn't stupid like punching walls, but I would literally walk by my bedroom or go in there, and when I think about him, and just like, I was so pissed, and I just like pound the bed like the Hulk. I'm just so mad. And then my wife was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, crying. I'm like, I'm just thinking about Troy, And one day I was up at my office, and he said, I asked him, I said, I looked up and I was like, "Troy, what do you want me to do?" And I was having a moment. I literally heard him say, "Do what you love and do it now." And I picked up my phone and I called my mentor in the financial services industry, Jeff, and I said, "Hey man, I'm out." And he's like, "What are you talking about?" And I said, I'm out. I'm getting out of the financial services business. Now, this is a guy that was grooming me to take over his business that was netting like 2.4 million a year in sales.
So
and now it's doing crazy. Even more. And I would have taken it over like 2 years ago completely because he sold out. And that was, everybody thought I was a genius because I hooked up onto his, tractor basically or whatever wagon. And like, I had this built-in thing with 3 offices, and it was going to be awesome. And all my friends thought I was an idiot for leaving. And I said, "Look, my little brother's dead, and I'm not going to spend one more second of my life doing something that I don't love." And I like telling people about sprouts, and I want to show people about green juices and what they did for me and how to heal themselves, because everybody's walking around, they don't feel good, they're tired, and they're overweight. They have Hashimoto's and Graves' disease and colitis and Crohn's and diverticulitis and fibromyalgia and all this crap. And it's like all unnecessary. It is all completely unnecessary. Cancer and heart disease, all these things are completely reversible, and people just don't know what they don't know, right? They just don't know. And I'm like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to tell people. And he's like, "Well, how are you going to make a living?" It's like, I have no idea, Jeff. I have no clue.
Like,
so I bought a big, huge dry erase board, and I just started coaching people for free for 2.5 years, living off my savings, and because I was a good steward with my money. And then I built a website, and I thought we were going to sell sprouts, but like I said, they were perishable. And then we ended up doing supplements and stuff like that, real food supplements, and doing it the right way.
What an amazing story. I love this. I have a similar sort of experience, just in the fact that when I left my profession, people were like, "She's insane. She's not well. Something's going terribly wrong." And I'm like, no, I'm happier than I've ever been, and I'm healthier than I've ever been. So shouldn't you be happy for me? But people have a big fear of not doing the normal, acceptable thing. So I'm very proud of you for hearing your brother tell you that and actually responding to it. But there was more than that, right? That was like the initial push. But didn't you also suffer deeply in your
Yeah.
health
So
issues?
yeah, like what happened was, like I said, I grew up on a farm, hunting, fishing, baseball, and by age 37, I was 42 pounds overweight. I couldn't even run around a track once without falling over. I was out of breath. I had really mental fog issues.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped going to the gym eventually, and then it even went further downhill. Um, every year I was gaining a pound to 3 pounds, something like that. Then I developed a huge patch of eczema on my left knee that was cracking and bleeding and sticking to my dress pants, and you know, and you'd peel. It hurts, you know.
Yeah.
It's like it's embarrassing, and then that stuff spread or whatever. It started happening on both my elbows, cracking and bleeding, and kind of all white, cracked, and somebody like at a party like, hey, who's bleeding? There's blood on the wall, and I'm like, oh, and then I have to go over there and clean it because I bump. You just don't freaking think about this stuff. You just moving your elbows, especially in the wintertime. It was worse. It's better in the summertime with the sunshine, but it's still bad. And I was a really outgoing A-type personality. But then what I found myself doing was I didn't want to take my shirt off at the beach, not because I was overweight and I had a big gut, but it's all bloated, but because everybody else was. But my arms and my leg, I looked like a freaking salamander. So my universe was like shrinking. It wasn't good. But I didn't know what to do. Again, no spiritual practice back then whatsoever. I no clue. And then it got worse. And then my heartburn got really bad. So I was eating Tums and Rolaids like all day long for years. And then it got worse. I started bleeding rectally when I poop. Like, again, that's why my shirt says love when you poop. Cause for me, it was a 6 to 7 on a 10 scale, for pain, followed by blood every time. So, not fun. Doctors wanted me to go on Prilosec for my heartburn, and they'd give me medications. And half the time I would never even fill them. But when I would fill them, I never did take them because I would never forget. I don't know what medication it was years ago, but they gave me a medication for rectal bleeding. And one of the side effects was rectal bleeding. Like, literally.
Like, thanks.
I'm like, are you freaking kidding me?
assholes.
And I'm like, see, I just had too much common sense. And I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, this is stupid. So, and I just didn't like weird long names. Weird long names that I couldn't pronounce always scared me. So I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
I have phenyltronics or what, just weird stuff. So I stayed away from that, but I still didn't know what to do. I was trying high fat, low fat, high protein, low protein, high carb, low carb. I actually tried juicing for a little bit. But it was just juicing like carrots and apples, and I threw some spinach in there, kale or whatever, and oranges and stuff. But it was just too much sugar and beets. So I had way too much sugar. I didn't lose any weight. And a month or two later, the juicer's under the cupboard, never used it again because I didn't juice properly. I wasn't doing the greens and the celery and the cucumber and all that stuff. So anyway, fast forward, I'm on a trip. This is where it got really scary. My wife and I planned out this trip to northern Peru, to a place called Tumbes, just south of Ecuador. Beautiful beach, private. There's like 9 big villas, and there's a place in the back with like a pool table and a full bar and a kitchen and a lounge area. And it's just a place where everybody can kind of hang out. And then from the 9 house, it's really cool. Like, the beach was amazing. There were so many seashells on the beach and they look so cool and big. It's like some of them look like they should have been in the Smithsonian. I'm like, that was the first time I'd actually seen a beach that was natural.
Yeah.
Seashells everywhere on the thing. But the beaches that we have nowadays, people just take them, right? You just take them. And I did. I took one home, and it became like an ashtray coin thing. It was just beautiful. So anyway, I didn't take any more, but I just took one. We're out on a fishing trip out in the sea, and I was doubled over in pain. And everybody's like, "Oh, you're sick for motion sickness." I'm like, "No, I've fished my whole life. I've been out to sea many times. I don't get motion sickness. This is something else." Her dad was a medical doctor. He diagnosed. He's like, "Oh shit, we got to get you to the hospital." So we drove down to the airport, and I just missed the one plane flight out of that town by like 20, 30 minutes. So he's like, "We can't wait. You could die." And I'm like, "What?" So he rented a van, and we drove 6 hours in the middle of the night in this bumpy ass road. You have to understand that, like, I was bent over, Lindsay, like at a 90-degree angle walking. I couldn't walk erect. I couldn't even think about standing up because so much pain. So every bump was like somebody punching me or stabbing me. And I was interviewed last week, and this lady's like, "Oh, you know what childbirth is like now." And I was like, "Okay, well, maybe, I don't know."
Sure.
But so it was 6
Wow.
hours of like bump, 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 bump. So by the time we got there, I'm soaked. I'm completely soaked because I'm sweating. I'm in pain. My clothes are soaked. I sweated so much that the paper money in my wallet was wet. Okay, just give you an idea.
Yeah.
It was the most horrible, painful experience. 6 hours of somebody stabbed me in the gut, basically. We finally get there, get to the hospital. They put me on this gurney, and like 5 doctors come in. They keep testing me. Oh, and they're like diagnosing me. And every time they touch me, it's like, ow, like stop it. I'm like, okay, don't you guys know it? Jesus.
I hate
And
that.
I looked up in the examination light above me. Remember, I'm in a third world country. There's tons of bugs flying around me in the room. So I'm just like, this isn't good. My insurance isn't going to cover this. I finally need insurance. And he's like making the phone calls at his clinic. He's like, he had him dope me up, put me on a commercial plane flight, which you're not supposed to do because he wanted his surgeons to take care of me instead of them. And they flew me into Lima, and I made it, luckily. And because I could have died on the plane,
Yeah.
like literally. And I went right into surgery, and I spent the rest of my vacation in recovering. Then my wife wheelchaired me back in the United States. I was still recovering. And I learned a couple things from that. And I always tell the story because number one, I don't ever want to have surgery again because it was scary. I realized that my life was out of control. See, but I was a victim. I didn't know how to take care of my body. I didn't know what had caused my problems. Now I do. Now I know exactly what my problems were and how to take care of it. But back then I didn't. So I was in a weak position. And when you're in a weak position, people that use fear tactics take advantage of you very easily. Oh, we have to do this now. This is a fast growing deal. We got to get in there. We got to blah, 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 blah. We got to do this. We got to cut. We got to burn. We got to do this. And you're like, okay. And you just like do whatever. The other thing that I learned from that experience was that my poor health doesn't affect just me. It affects everybody else around me. And like your dad, he's a medical doctor and he'd never taken a vacation in 30 years. That was his first vacation. Where'd he end up? Back in the hospital.
God.
So I will say this. I'm very grateful for the doctors and the nurses and the people in the hospital that took care of me. They did the surgery. They saved my life. And this is where Western medicine shines. The diagnostic equipment, even though some of it's like evasive and it can cause cancer, like mammograms and MRIs, but the diagnostic equipment's good. And the crisis management in emergency rooms is par excellence. I mean, it is the best. So if you get, because it was actually, that's where Western medicine came from. It came from war. It was born out of crisis where people were, getting their arms shot off or shrapnel or getting shot in the gut, falling, getting stabbed or something. They would patch you up and save your life. But for taking care of people with chronic issues, complete fail.
Fail.
It's like they know you for they come in for 10, 15 minutes max. Like, hey, what's going on? Oh, you got this? Okay, here's a pill. Bye.
And then they'll lie to your face. I tell this story all the time where I told I have Hashimoto's. I went in and I told her, like, this is getting worse. And she said, oh, we actually have to lower your dosage. And I'm like, well, technically that's good. I don't want to be on it at all. But also my symptoms are getting worse. What should I do? She's like, well, nothing. I'm like, so I'm just going to get worse until I die? Or what are you telling me? And she's like, yeah, there's like nothing. And I'm like, well, I've heard about these different dietary things. I think I'm going to try that. Oh, there's no evidence to that. That's just a waste of your time. Keep doing whatever. And just like, so your advice to me as my doctor is to keep dying slowly forever.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy.
Oh, I love you so much, Doc. Thank you. I'm so confident in you. You make me feel so good.
I walked out of there. I was like,
is
never going back to a doctor again. Period.
When I help our clients assemble their team, because I look at myself like, I don't know. I'm just kind of like a general contractor of health, basically.
You're the care manager. Yeah.
I help them assemble the team. We get the colon hydrotherapist, and if they want a doc, we help vet the doctors. And the number one, and massage therapists or whatever. Maybe we use a lot of Rolfers. Rolfing, it's a technique developed by Ida Rolf, which is deep tissue and fascia, and they actually do energy work. And I had somebody do that, and I thought I was going to have knee surgery, and this guy fixed my leg. It was actually 4 bones were out of place in my foot.
Wow.
I didn't know it. And he got 3 of them to go back in. He said, you're going to have to go to get a chiropractor to get the other one. But because the bones were out of place, my body was compensating, and it went up the side of my leg. It took my muscle and tendon and turned it into a cable to do the job of my foot. So it was supposed to do because it was out of place. And he worked up and down that leg. And after about 8 visits, all that inflammation was gone. And, here I was like revamping myself at the time, and I'm doing yoga now. And I felt like a 20-year-old, except for my left knee, felt like it was 80. I couldn't do certain poses with it. And then he fixed me in like 8 visits. I'm just like, oh my God, rolfing's amazing.
Well, and see,
You
this
know,
is also an example of how your body is actually doing the best thing it can all the time. This is the best thing I can do given the shit that you threw at me and all the stuff that's wrong, right? It was like, you have to turn this into a cable now because your foot's not working, but now you can still walk for now, but like figure out your stuff. It's just amazing because I think we tend to hate our body. We're like, oh God, my body hurts. And like, oh, this is going wrong. And like, why is my body doing this to me? That's how I always was, at least. And now I'm like, oh, my body's been dealing with all of this
It's
my
communicating
whole life.
to you. It's really communicating. If you have pains and you're on medications, you're overweight, all this stuff, you don't feel good, you're low energy, it's your body communicating to you. You need to change your environment. You have to do something. You got to detox. You got to, yeah. So anyway, so I do this whole thing, and then, you know, I come back, and then actually a buddy on my baseball team, Clay Mahoy, develops cancer at age 40. Now, in my life, in my personal experience, my grandmother had died of brain cancer. It was horrible, chemo, all that stuff. My aunt got skin cancer, melanoma, and lung cancer, and my mom took care of her, and I'm like, unbelievable. My mom's like an angel, right? It's like she was turned into this super caring hospice worker, and like you should have seen like her skin. It was horrible. It was like so much pain, and you know, morphine drips at the end type deal. Well, a buddy of mine at age 40, he got cancer. Now, when people get older, they die of something. You don't think much of it, but now this guy's like pretty close to my age. I was 37, I was a little bit younger than that, and like 35, something like that. And Clay's 40, and he was like the healthiest guy on the team. He had like a 6-pack. I mean, he could have been an underwear model. I mean, he was in good shape on the outside. On the inside, he developed stomach cancer, and then he went through chemo and surgery. And I remember him throwing up after meals. I remember him on his last baseball game. He was spitting up blood on the baseball, on the diamond on the bench. And my buddy Jason looked at him, and I was looking at him. He's spitting up blood. And Jason's like, Clay, what the hell are you doing here, man? He's like, hey, look, man, if I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna go out doing what I love, and I freaking love baseball. We're like, all right, play ball, you know. So then after that, my buddy Charles at age 43, he gets diagnosed with chronic lymphocytic leukemia, which is supposedly some incurable blood cancer. So he drops the bomb on me, like, great, I'm gonna lose another friend. Now I'm starting to freak out because now people my age are dropping, and I'm just like, Charles was the vegetarian, so I'm like, I'm doomed. I was thinking, I'm bleeding rectally. I'm not telling anybody. I got all this stuff going on, and but my head was in the sand. So Charles said, hey, look, I don't want to die. I want to see Charlie, his son, and our kids played together, fished together, certain things. And he said, I want to see Charlie graduate high school, Tim. I want to see him go to Oregon State University, and I want to go to father-son weekend. This is what we've planned out. And I don't want to die. And I'm like, man, yeah, but what do? I don't know anything. I don't even know how to take care of myself. And he's like, so I found this place in Florida called the Hippocrates Health Institute. They're like a 61-year at the time old detox and nutrition clinic, and they help people with cancer and all kinds of stuff like Hashimoto's heal naturally. And I was like, oh, great. But in one ear and out the other, I'm like, yeah, right. You know, it's like, we got billions of dollars, race for the cure. We have our best minds on this thing. This cancer thing's got us licked. They've been at this since Nixon, right? So I'm thinking to my friend, I'm like looking at his picture on his desk, and every year he'd go on a vacation with his wife and his kid, and they'd get a new picture on the vacation. That would be the new picture. And I thought, next year, he's not going to be in the picture. It's just going to be Judy and Charlie Jr. And I was like, I'm going to lose another friend. And he said, Tim, I want you to go with me to this institute to support me because Judith can't get away at the time. And I was like, sure, dude, whatever you want. I had no idea what I was getting into. And if you would have told me what that place was all about, the way I was, like super redneck, societal programmed, there's no way I would have set foot in that place. But I went there to help my buddy save his life in a desperate attempt. And that place is where everything started changing for me, Lindsay. So we got on a plane flight January 1st, 2011. We flew into the Hippocrates Health Institute. And on the plane flight there, he's like, oh, by the way, when we get there, there's no meat, there's no dairy, there's no salt, there's no sugar, there's nothing cooked over 115 degrees, and there's no vinegar. And I was like, what are you talking about? There's no meat. So I'm like, I didn't even hear anything else he said. I'm just sitting there trying to process no meat. And I'm like thinking, how am I going to live?
Shrivel and die.
I'm going to die. You know, I'm freaked out, like literally. I'm worried, like seriously worried. So we get to the place, and it's like intake papers and blood tests. I did the whole program with him. I'm doing the blood tests. I'm doing the therapies and doing all this stuff. And the third, I think it was the third or fourth day, there was this class called, no, it was the second day. It was a class called Internal Awareness. And this doctor comes out. It's a 3.5-hour lecture. Now, when you go to this place, you think you're just going to go there and eat a bunch of, carrots and celery from Costco and, whatever. And they got some therapies or something. I'm like, I'm just there to support Charles. But they actually have 40 hours of lectures a week. So it's an educational school. And they're basically deprogramming you and showing you reality of,
Cool.
how the body works and all this other stuff. So I'm like going to these classes, I'm learning stuff, and everything's like resonating with me. It's common sense, it's making sense, but I'm still like, there's no way this little podunk place could help Charles with his cancer. I mean, like I said, all the money and the billions of dollars raised for the cure, blah blah blah. So we go to this class. This doctor comes out, and this guy is like fit, like super fit. He's got muscles popping out. He just turned 50 that day, Dr. Josephson, and he looked like he was 40. And the people that had been working there for 10 years or longer, they looked like 10, 20 years younger than the general population. My nurse was really beautiful and good. She was in her 50s, and I thought she was like in her mid 30s. I'm like, what? I'm like, what is going on with this place? So we go to this class, and this doctor, he's like, oh yeah. He goes, I haven't eaten meat in 10 years. And I was like, what? I'm like, how could you possibly look so good and have so much muscles? Now people have seen like the movie Game Changers. Like people, it's kind of, coming around. And for those listening, I'm not saying stop eating meat. Okay. I'm just telling you our story. I've had a little bit of meat since then, but I'm probably 98% plant-based. Rare occasions, I just don't freak out about it anymore.
Yeah.
Like I used to, because I was like a food Nazi for 5.5 years.
Yeah.
And that's not good either, because that lowers your immune system through worry and fear. So anyway, this class, and he's trying to teach us, the bottom line here is that the average person, Lindsay, has about 6 to 12 pounds of impacted fecal material in the colon. We're carrying it around, and it's a problem. It's a big problem, because the colon is supposed to be a waste removal system. It's not a storage tank. But because of the lack of hydration, because the colon is the first place the body goes to get water, and we're not drinking enough of it, and the cooked processed foods and not chewing our food well, and yada, 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 all these things, this stuff is piled up. And what happens is when you pile up all this trash and garbage, in comes the bugs and the rats. It's just like if the garbage truck drivers strike, right? The garbage starts piling up in the alleys, and then in comes the rats and the bugs. Yeah. They remove the trash, the rats and the bugs go away, change the environment. So inside of us, we basically have a bunch of trash piled up, and in comes the bugs and the rats, which is the viruses, the bacterias, the mold, the yeast, the fungus, the mutagens, the cancers, and the parasites. Yeah. It's the perfect environment for them. And we've created it.
You invited them in. Yeah.
So we can change it. So, but they were trying to sell us on colon hydrotherapy. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've done it. I loved it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean,
well,
I
wasn't too excited about it when
let's
I heard
do
about
it. No, I wasn't. I'm just saying I liked the results a lot.
So this guy made a very good case for it, but I remember elbowing Charles and say, look, dude, I came here to help you, but I am not doing that deal. Nobody's putting anything in my butt. So for those listening, I'll clarify, because I didn't know what it was either. Colonics, or colon hydrotherapy, same thing, colon hydro water therapy. It's a colon water therapy. You basically, that you insert a tube rectally, and water gently goes in and out of your colon for an hour or so, and it cleans out that trash. That's it. You're taking the trash out. And now a lot of people are going to go online and Google it, and you're going to see where Western society, whoever's behind it, is going to try to scare you to not do it.
Yeah.
So on my podcast, which you can see behind me, it's called The Health Hero Show. I think it was episode 38. I interviewed an Act 1 certified instructor level colon hydrotherapist, Rebecca Harder, aka Gastro Girl. She has a whole book on this stuff. 2 clinics, one in Taos, New Mexico, and one in Portland, Oregon, if you want to get a good colon hydrotherapy session, if you live in those areas. And she said that well, basically you have to get 2 of these colon hydrotherapy sessions back to back.
Yeah.
One on day 1 to initially clean it off, and then your liver and gallbladder will start dumping toxins, and then you want to sweep them out again, because those toxins otherwise will go up the hepatic vein and go from your colon, and it goes directly back into the liver, and you start recycling them. Right?
I think I did like a 3-week, like multi-time thing when I did mine. So I was trying to heal from parasites. Yeah. Yeah,
it's important, and people will see parasites coming out, toys and stuff coming out. But anyway, on that episode, I got sidetracked again. She debunks all of that. So what actually happened was somebody did die, from colon hydrotherapy, but it wasn't colon hydrotherapy by itself. They went in and got a colonoscopy. And a lot of times when you do a colonoscopy, they nick the lining.
Ugh.
And then somebody who got the colonoscopy and got the lining nicked, then they went in and got colon hydrotherapy, and there was a hole there, and that's what killed them. So all you have to do is make sure that you wait at least a week after you had a colonoscopy in case they nick you, and your intestinal lining regenerates itself. Like a liver, you have a new liver every 6 weeks. Like the body's always regenerating. Anyway, she debunks all that stuff, so don't be afraid of it. So anyway, but I'm still not doing it until this very intelligent doctor showed us virtual colonoscopies of 3 sick people and 1 person that had been on this Hippocrates protocol for a few years. Now, the first person that came out was a 24-year-old female with Hashimoto's and thrush, which is a yeast infection. And inside of her colon, it was all white and yellow and nasty and weird. Yeah. And I was like, what? Because you expect to see like brown stuff in there, right? Yeah. And then the next guy was a person they showed was a 65-year-old male with colon cancer and parasites. And in his colon, it was black tar with white worms crawling around. And I'm just like, oh my God. And then the doctor turned around and he said, hey, you guys think that this parasite deal is a third world affair. Far from it. Mm-hmm. And easily over 50% of you in this room have parasites. And you can see people going, eh. He said, and I'm not just talking about these tapeworms, hookworms, and pinworms, the one we're seeing right now with the naked eye. And a lot of you are going to see these as you're doing the enemas and drinking and changing your internal terrain and doing all this alkalizing, high oxygen, alkalizing foods. These critters are going to be leaving the body. And in the stool, you'll see parasites coming out. You'll see white fuzzy stools, right? Parasites coming up. But he also said that there's smaller ones. They're microscopic parasites that are inside of you. And all of them are drinking your drinks, they're eating your food, and they're urinating and defecating in you and laying thousands of eggs.
And they're telling you to keep drinking and eating those things. And you're
listening. They actually hijack your vagus nerve into your brain and like literally make you go eat sugar and drink alcohol and do crazy stuff, right? Parasites. So it's like crazy. So anyway, yeast does that too. Yeah. Candida. Yeah. Right. So anyway, then they showed like a 45-year-old female with breast cancer, and inside of her colon was all black and nasty. And then they went to the person that had been on the Hippocrates protocol. Now there was some brown waste matter in there, but the intestinal lining was like red and pink and clean, and you could just it was the terrain was completely different from the healthy person versus the ones that were unhealthy. And that's when the light bulb went off, and I was like, oh my God, this is an inside game. My colon probably looks like a combination of those 3 people. Yeah. And he's like, having, cake and ice cream and birthdays, holidays, parties. He goes, no big deal, shoot me. But he goes, it's day in and day out. He goes, you know how much dairy you've eaten and how much meat you've eaten and, cookies and candies. You know how much. I'm thinking that's all I eat. My colon's probably trashed. I jumped up in the middle of the class and I started signing up for the colon hydrotherapy. I was the first one. He's like, Tim, we're going to sign up afterwards. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to get on here real quick. And the next day I went in, they weighed me. I did an hour-long session. They weighed me again. I dropped 10 pounds of impacted fecal material, and I've never looked back. The next day, Charles and I woke up. We came out of the fog of the detox, and because we went, right off of basically standard American diet to eating like a chipmunk, nature. And I looked at him and I said, do you feel as good as I do, man? And he's like, yeah. I said, dude, I feel like I'm energized. My arms are tingling. My brain is clear. I said, I've already dropped 11 pounds since I've been here. And I said, I know a lot of it was probably from the colon deal. But I said, you're going to make it. I said, all this research I've been asking people around here, I said, you're going to live, dude. I said, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm going to go home. I'm going to give up all meat except for bacon. And we're going to do this juicing deal and all this sprout deal. And I came home and we started doing it. And I started growing sprouts for him. And I started growing sprouts for lots of other people. I started telling his story, and one person told another. And before too long, I'm teaching classes to, we had 5,500 people come to my home over a 5.5-year period. It's a lot of dinners and a lot of detox classes and making juice for people and foods. And I learned a lot through that process. And what happened was we came back, and within 60 days, I lost all the weight. The eczema on my elbows was completely gone. The other skin issue I didn't tell you about, my shoulder was gone. It took about 8 months later, my big patch of eczema on my knee was gone, and I could feel my ribs again. And I've been geeking out and improving my health for the last 11 years. Within 2.5 years, here's the best part of the story. Charles had healed himself of chronic lymphocytic leukemia with no chemo, no radiation, no surgery. He did it with a really good attitude, getting the man-made toxins out of his body and in his gut, and is on his cellular level, and is getting out of his fat and his muscle tissue and plugging his butt back into nature. He started exercising again. And I just saw him. We played guitar. His son, he did get to see him graduate high school. He went to father-son weekend, and his son just sold him a house. Son's a real estate agent now. So that's the best part of the story, is my friend's still alive today. And I've got first-person experience, not only with my own health, but with my friend right in front of my face, healing himself of cancer. And from his story and my brother's death, all this stuff come together, and it's pushed me. This is what I have to do.
Yeah.
I have to get this information out to people. Not that they'll do anything with it, but if one person, which I know there's been thousands already in the last 11 years that we've helped, and there's been this ripple effect, because I've talked to a lot of folks, I'm here. If there's one person tonight that gets this, and I can help them take a little turn and start going down a better path and start getting their life back and learn that they can self-heal and become their own doctor, then it was totally worth my time. And that's why I'm here.
Yes. So inspiring and beautiful. And I love it. I'm not crying. I just am almost crying. So it's very inspirational. People in the chat are loving it as well. I want to ask you, because in my own kind of like coaching and teaching that I do with people, I focus too on not too much of the stuff you're talking about, but I try to emphasize it as much as possible, because I do a lot of spiritual teaching and guidance, but I always point out, you can't get spiritually clear when you're not mentally clear. You're not mentally clear when you're not physically clear. And your physical clarity has to do with your nutrition too. So like all of these things work together, our mental, our emotional, our physical, and our spiritual. And you can't ignore them. And I feel like I spent my whole life being sometimes taught by and often surrounded by spiritual people who were just really sick, actually. And I always, one of my best teachers who wasn't sick said to me, you want to learn from the people who are living like the life that you want to live. So when I look at those sick people, I'm like, I guess I don't want to learn your spiritual side of things.
Yeah, well, they create a lot of contrast for us, let us know what we don't want, which helps us get clarity of more of what we do want. So on a higher level, they've chose that. And maybe they're like I looked at my dad, and my dad's health is terrible. And I tried to get him to change in a nice way. And I tried to be a dick about it. And I tried everything. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
People have to do it themselves. So I thought about it because maybe my dad on a higher level, he's really the biggest saint, because he wants to experience this pain, maybe to create contrast for me so that I never do. So I look at things completely differently now. But what I can tell you is, like, after I went through Hippocrates the first time, I was literally looking around, and I could feel the spiritual stuff.
Yeah.
I could feel it. I didn't know what it was. I had no education. I'd never picked up a book. I didn't know. And I mean, I went to a bunch of churches when I was a senior in high school, just because I wondered, what is all this stuff? Because I asked my mom, I'm like, what religion are? She's like, oh, we're Christian. And I'm like, but we never go to church. She's like, well, just do good to people, And I'm like, oh, well, that's your man. My dad's like, you're word's only as good as you're only as good as your word. Never hit a lady. He just taught me some basic things. Do what's right. Your handshake is it. Like, if you give your handshake, you better follow through until I'm dead, or I'm going to kick your butt. He goes, when I'm dead, you can do whatever you want. He goes, as long as I'm alive, you got my name and you can't mess it up. So I'm like, okay, I got it. And I learned a lot of good stuff from them, but no spiritual practice. So I went to all these different churches, and like all of them, I mean, I tried them all. They were all like cults, and they wanted to like suck me in. So that scared me off. And I did find a Christian church when I was a little bit older, and I went because the guy was like a retired sergeant, and he just spoke. It was just a good speaker, and it was like really awesome. But that didn't last. I mean, I went there for maybe 6 months or something. So I had something in 2011 open up for me. My spiritual path had opened up. It wasn't until 2018 that I was turned on to Abraham Hicks and Bashar. I don't know if you know those two, but you're going to look into them and you're going to be like, whoa. So, and I started practicing stuff like following my highest excitement to the best of my ability, with no insistence on a particular outcome. That became my map of my life. And when I started doing that, the synchronicities in my life started people were at the right place at the right time. Just crazy stuff started happening. And it just started propelling itself. So the yogis, like over in India, old school, will tell you, like, if you want to have that spiritual connection, like, it's the pineal gland, right? And your body. So to be the best, because we're like a TV or like a radio, right? So you want the transmitter to be vibrating at its highest frequency, so it can tune in, tap in, and turn on, right? And so if you want to get closer to God, even all the religions, what do they say to do? Fast and pray. And fasting stops the digestive process, right? So we're using 60 to 80% of our energy on a daily basis just to break down the foods.
Yeah.
And what foods we are eating is crappy. So when you're doing these fasts, all that energy that was going into processing food now gets rerouted to clean up dead cells, boost the immune system, boost your mental clarity. That's why on Wednesdays, I do my liquid nourishment days, because that's the day I lead a live class. And I want to have the most mental acuity possible. So I don't have the burden of digestion. I get my nutrients through juices on that day. Right. So having if you're really into God, he, she, it, the vortex, the higher mind, whatever you want to call it, you really need to take care of this gift that you've been given, which is your body. And you can get closer to that. So I just think it's, like you said, it's hand in hand. It's very important to take care of yourself for so many reasons. Again, your poor health doesn't affect just you. It affects your family, your friends, and loved ones the most. And if everybody's sick, it's a really drag on the community too, because look how much insurance costs today, even though, they're kind of scummy and it's all marked up. And that's why, a Tylenol is like $20 in the hospital, which is ridiculous because there's so many middlemen. Right. So it's just so simple. I mean, it's just nature's the answer. And, and I just think, the spiritual path will open up for you more, or for me, like it did, just by getting clean in your gut and in your body.
Yeah, you don't need a church, and you don't even need a spiritual teacher, really. You'll find it all within yourself if you just give yourself enough space and time to be in connection in that way. I love your story so much. I love all of the ways that it all hooked together to get you to where you're at. And I have some dork questions for you, and I'm sure a lot of people out there are wondering too. First of all, I want to hear about your products before we go, but I also want to hear about, do you have a favorite juice if you do still juice? You said you did. And then what is your kind of schedule like between fasting and eating for, like, let's say like a week? Is that easy to describe?
Yeah. So the diet and everything like that stuff it's morphed over 11 years, but I wake up in the morning and I drink, my water's pretty awesome. Like I triple purify it and I run it through a restructuring device.
Mine is.
I have to tell people this because, for 8 years I was just like purified water. But we do need to purify it because all the water is polluted today.
Yeah.
Like 1,500 miles into the interior, these pristine lakes, the biologists are finding that 2 and 2.5 inch fish have both male and female organs. Why? Because the high concentrations of estrogen mimicking microplastics
are
so pervasive.
That humans are doing the same thing right now. Okay, anyway.
Yeah. Growing man boobs, ovarian cyst, uterine cyst, breast cancer, prostate cancer. All these are very high hormonal. It's like these estrogen mimickers are tiny. It's a whole story.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the water needs to be purified. But what I found out is that if you're on city tap water, not only do you have to get your water purified, you have to. This isn't like, oh, I think I might do this or I should do this. You need to get your water restructured. You have to
distill it and just see what's left over when you're done. It's so disgusting. It's like brown and it smells like poop. It's
terrible. So whether it's distillation, deionization, or reverse osmosis, those are the 3 types of purifications that I know. Anytime you run water through any one of those, you're going to pull out 90% of contaminants. That's why I like triple purified. Then you take the 10% that's left, run it through again, you knock out 90% of that, you're left with 1, run it through again, 0.1, 99.9% water. But again, if you live on city tap water, the city water pipes are under such high pressure, they coagulate the water molecules. In nature, it's like 4 to 5 in a cluster. And after it goes through that, it's like 20 to 25. Well, what's the big deal? Well, it's like trying to picture the water molecule as a bowling ball and the intestinal lining is a chain link fence. Try throwing a bowling ball through a chain link fence. It's just going to bounce off of it. So you have to restructure it back into like sand. So when it goes through it can actually get through the intestinal lining. It's too big. And I was the water guy. I was telling everybody for 8 years, drink water, drink water, drink water. Lots of great results with people drinking more water because people aren't doing it. In fact, less than 5% of people are drinking adequate amounts of water to be healthy. 95% listening have massive rooms for improvement. So get excited because if you're not drinking enough water, you're going to feel better.
Yeah.
You're going to start feeling better. And people were doing it even the way it was on city water. When I got restructured water from this gal, Danusha, Um, it was like a game changer. I drank a quart of water, and then she gave me a little Himalayan salt, put it on my tongue, and she goes, "In 15 minutes, I'm going to give you another quart." Normally, I only give people one because it'll start a detoxification. But you're so clean, so she gave me a second one, and in the 24-minute mark, my brain went on, my arms started tingling again. It was like triple what it was like at Hippocrates the first time when I changed my diet and I come out of that detox fog. And I was like, holy crap. She's like, I've never done this before, but I'm going to give you a third one. I'm like, geez, I don't think I can drink another one. And I did. And I was high as a kite. I went home. I was literally high on water for 6 hours.
That's awesome.
Like, and now people think I'm like on cocaine sometimes because I'm high on water and super nutrients and my bed's amazing and I'm grounding. Like right now, this is a grounding pad. I'm getting Earth's frequency.
Yeah.
So the water, I bought that water machine and I've been high on water ever since. It's amazing. So I used to send people to, because people usually ask me about Danusha's email, but nobody can spell Danusha. Most of them. It's actually Polish for Donna, which I learned. So to stop emails in our inbox, I built a landing page for her. If you want to get a free consult and get your water right, like I did, it's mypurifiedwater.com. That's for Danusha if you want a free consult with her and get that water machine that I got. So anyway, we have to get we have to get our water right. We have to look at air and all kinds of stuff. So anyway, I'm off topic again. So
no, I love it because these are important things too. And people, I know the other thing is people out there go like, well, must be nice. Like I don't have money for all this stuff and I can't do all this stuff, but I think that that's a myth too. And so I know the big expensive machines, but like you can go get healthy food actually and live off of it, especially when we're talking about fasting and
you asked me about my routine and stuff. Yeah. But just to clarify really quick on the water, I usually go into detail on this kind of stuff. But so if you're just down on money right now and your money's tight, that's okay. It's just one form of abundance. There's lots of other things that are probably working well for you. You can go to your grocery store and get gallon glass jars and get single purified water for 25 to 44 cents, 50 cents a gallon. There you go. So if you're on a super budget, gallon glass jars, not plastic, because we don't want these xenotoxins in you. Yeah. We already got enough. We're trying to get them out and do that. Now, if you got more money, get the water purification systems, not filters. Filters are not purifiers. Filters are like putting a sock in a river and saying you're cleaning the entire river. You're not. You're only cleaning a little bit of it. So, and remember, Clorox makes filters called Brita. So, all right. So you asked me about my routine. I wake up in the morning. It's liquids. I drink water. I drink this amazing water. I put a little salt on my tongue, and then I go mix up another one with my green 85. Sometimes I make juice. That juice will be cucumber and celery, sunflower sprouts, and fresh cut pea sprouts. I learned this at Hippocrates. Now I know a lot of people are like, I can't grow sprouts. I don't even know where to start. Okay. Just scoop the green 85 and do that. Or just make cucumber or celery juice. The medium he uses a lot. Just use celery juice. Yeah. Especially in the beginning for people when you're detoxifying, the organic sodium in celery works as an antiseptic in your lymphatic system, which is your garbage removal system. It's actually quite profound. So you can do that. And I always spike my juices now with our greens because it's a super concentrated juice extract. It's got a bunch of other stuff in it. So that's my morning. And I'll either have a chai tea latte or a matcha latte. And I make those with sprouted nut milk. And I use like a Stevita brand stevia to sweeten it, no sugar. And it's freaking delicious. Yes. And I make this stuff for people. I make chai teas. I get the highest quality. I get like ceremonial grade matcha. Wow. I buy it from Terra Sol. It's way cheaper that way. It's like $80 or $70 for a big thing of it. Otherwise, it's like $13 for a little teeny thing at the store because we use it a lot. So that's my morning. And then at lunch, I have usually a big ass sprout salad and red peppers and avocados. And sometimes we'll do tempeh that's made out of lentils or mung beans or chickpeas. Sometimes, let's see, what else would I put on that thing? Jackfruit. I do jackfruit, stuff like that. So I just try to eat really healthy. And then I drink my greens again in the afternoon, about 30 minutes before dinner, because that's the protocol from Hippocrates, 2 green juices a day. And they told us when you go back home, if you're not doing 2 green juices a day, do not expect the same results. You're not on the Hippocrates protocol. Because they've tried once, twice. They tried 3 times. They said 2 is what you need to do. So I did that. And it's been 11 years. And guess what? I never miss. I never miss. Even when I went up to Alaska, I took my kids fishing, my buddy, and we were out in the boat, and I'm shaking it up, and because he was like 350 pounds. And he's like, "How do you stay so slim all the time?" I said, "I drink 2 green juices a day." And I was just trying to make it simple for him
Simple,
because
yeah.
he's so lost, And every day I'd wake up in the morning, I make it. He's having his coffee, which is highly acidic, and I'm like, "Hey, John, look at me. I never miss." And that whole trip for 8 days, every day, and then the afternoon is about 4 o'clock. I looked at him, I pulled it out, I was prepared. I never miss. I never miss, John. Here I am out in a boat, way away from people. I don't miss my green juices. And he got it. He finally got it. And he is 300 or 279 pounds now.
Woo!
So he's lost quite a bit. I think his highest he was like 375 or something. So he's almost down 100 from his top weight. But yeah. And you know what else was causing his problem? He was in a relationship that wasn't working, and him and his wife are in the middle, are almost done getting divorced, and he's happier than he's ever been.
See,
Right. So
we were talking about the emotional section too. Like that also has to fit in there.
huge,
Yep.
huge. He couldn't see it when he was in the middle of it, but and I could see it. Everybody else could see it, but he's not. Neither one of them were happy. They're
Yeah.
better off now. They both need to go work on themselves. They literally do not need to get in another relationship right now.
No.
Like they have got to work on themselves. Otherwise, they're going to go right into another relationship, and then same thing's going to happen.
Have a relationship
Right.
with you. It's self-care to the max. Well, and I also, that comes up, when I first started fasting, I started having big emotional cleansings, let's call it, right? You get the physical cleansing, you get the emotional cleansing, and then I realized where this came from and my own food insecurities and childhood traumas and whatever. So part of this journey for a lot of people is they'll start doing it right, and then they'll say to themselves like, well, this is really hard. I hurt worse, actually. I'm going through like this and that's like, this isn't working for me. And it's like, no, actually sometimes like it has to hurt if it's to heal. It doesn't have to, but like it might be uncomfortable.
They educated us on that at the Institute.
Yeah.
They basically said, you're going to feel worse before you feel better.
Yes.
Now here's the problem. When you don't have the money or time to get away and go to a Hippocrates type health institute, that's our whole program is developed around meeting people where they're at. That's why we believe in a very gentle baby step, like daily detox.
That's smart.
We are like the home of the daily detox, and our products and everything are formulated so that you can go to work, you can travel, you can play sports, you can do all these things, and you can begin the detoxification process. And there's no diarrhea. There's no running to the bathroom. It's a super gentle process. And actually, our gut detox product is literally it's an ancient formula from India. It's steeped in all that system science, that engineering, biological engineering of 10,000 years. And it just works. In fact, Dr. Treadway told me, he said, Tim, because I was using a magnesium supplement, which was working, but it actually liquefies everything and kills the good bacteria as well. But we have to clean the pathway of elimination first. It's the first step. He said, I love your program. It's working really. It's almost identical to what I was doing when I had my clinic seeing patients for 10 years. But he goes, the magnesium's a little rough. I was like, well, what do you recommend? He explained this whole formula. And I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. Like, how much is that going to cost somebody? Me. And he's like, oh, you can probably sell it for under $50. I'm like, really? I was like, oh, okay, cool. So he said for these 2 different clinics that had thousands of years of apprenticeship, that everybody, no matter what their problem was put on this herbal deal. And no matter what, because it's a body balancer. But we use it. We have people double down on it and take 3 in the morning and 3 at night for 15 days. And they're going to remove that 6 to 12 pounds of impacted funk and gunk and junk that's creating this horrible environment that breeds all these harmful organisms. And then after that, they just take 3 a day for maintenance, and long-term, it'll clean up the organ systems. And it does like 37 other side benefits, not side effects.
Yeah.
The body.
That's the opposite of what we're used to. Like
exactly.
It may cause happiness and upliftment and wellness. Yeah. We're like, what? That's crazy. It's supposed to kill you, right?
Yeah. So anyway, so that's you can do this. Like there's basic things that people can do that are very simple. They go to our website and they hunt around. There's a little thing that'll pop up that says grab a free gift. That's our Core 4 Secrets manual. 3 of those Core 4 Secrets are free. They don't cost you anything to do, but they are profound and powerful. Very profound. The first one is getting your water right. We talked about that. Number 2 is chewing your food until liquefied. This is the first step in digestion.
I don't do that.
And if you don't chew your food until liquefied, what happens is instead of having digestion and assimilation of nutrients, you get fermentation and gut rot. slowly. You're destroying those intestinal villi that are lining your intestinal tract, that are pushing your food through you and pulling the nutrients into the bloodstream. Less than 4% of the population is chewing their food well enough. And
Wow.
people, just to make a big deal of it, you have 2 ducts in your upper mouth and 4 ducts in the lower mouth that secrete these enzymes, amylase and lipase. These are what break down your starches and your fats. So digestion actually starts in the mouth. You're preloading your food with the enzymes that are going to go down into your stomach and actually break all the food down. Now, for those wondering about protein, your stomach has a substance called pepsin that breaks it down, and also hydrochloric acid that will break down your proteins, right? So that's already taken care of. So we have to chew our food well to preload it with the enzymes to create the digestion. That's why. Now, another huge benefit for those that have anxiety and depression or just want to be a happy person is that when you chew your food well, you're actually stimulating the meridian points in your teeth. And this is from Dr. Gabriel Cousins, who I don't know if you know who he is, but he's in his 80s and he can do like 30 pull-ups. Okay. And he's like a living fooder. In his 70s, he was doing like 200-300 push-ups. I mean, the guy's like he's super healthy. He can move around. He's flexible. He does yoga every morning at 6 a.m. There's some examples out there. Okay. There's people in nursing homes at 60. This guy's 80 and he's out pulling weeds and doing all kinds of stuff and teaching yoga classes. He actually did a rain dance, I think in his 70s, for 2 days that hadn't been done in 40 years with the local Native American Indians in Arizona next to his clinic.
Oh, cool.
And he was telling them, stop eating buffalo. And they say, you crazy. And he said, I will do your rain dance for 2 days. And you have to dance for 2 days nonstop with no sleep. Think about that. So here's a guy in his 60s or 70s that danced for 2 days nonstop with no sleep. And then afterwards, the elders and the chiefs, and they said, maybe we should drink or eat plants. Proof's in the pudding. But what he said is that when you stimulate those meridian points, you're actually, now hold your hat on this one. You better put a hat on so you can hold it. So it stimulates your happy juice. Your serotonin goes up to 500%.
Jesus. Wow.
So serotonin is that happy molecule.
So literally
and there's
one of
no
the
pill.
only things that makes you happy.
So think about that. Not only you're going to be a happier person when you chew your food, but you're going to have digestion and assimilation of nutrients. It's the first. So it's a big deal. And 96% of you I know have massive room for improvement here.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3 is avoiding liquids with meals. Now that you've preloaded all of your enzymes into the food and you put it in your belly, if you drink purified restructured water or beer or wine or apple juice or whatever, you're going to dilute those digestive enzymes and go from digestion and assimilation back to fermentation and gut rot. So the rule of thumb is stop drinking liquids an hour before you eat. And then wait 2 hours after you're done eating, and then drink a lot of liquids again.
Okay. This also would greatly reduce anything else you're drinking besides water, because by the time you can drink again, you're going to be like, well, I need to get the water in.
Well, the reality is that the only thing that your cells require is water. There's no other liquid.
Yeah.
There really isn't any other.
I have my fancy stevia flavored soda water here, which I really don't need. But that's a big.
Well, be careful of that because the carbonated beverages actually steal minerals from your bones.
Oh.
So a lot of people are doing the carbonated stuff. I mean, I talked to this one guy. I had a client. He had a carbonation maker.
Yeah.
He was making his own stuff and flavoring. I said, well, number one, dude, those flavors are cancer causers. He's like, well, I can put some natural stuff in it. I'm like, unless you want to, have more incidents of osteoporosis, osteopenia, weakened bones. He's like, damn it. I said, dude, I went through the damn it phase. Okay. When I went there, I was like, a lot of stuff I wasn't doing that was part of my life that I had to change. If I wanted different results, I couldn't keep doing the same things I was doing. I had to be an intelligent system, use my sensor to recognize what was going on and use my controller to change the inputs so that I could hit my goal. Real simple. There's no magic here.
Well, and you start to love
that's
the things you switch. You start to love the things you switch to because you feel so good. You're like addicted to those, and you no longer care about the things you left
and you'll
behind.
go back to the other ones. And what happens is I have my clients, we slowly baby step them, and they're feeling good about month 4 or 5. And I'm like, hey, I want you to go have we're going to do a 30-day plant-based deal now, just for 30 days, a challenge. Okay. I usually takes 4 or 5 months to get them up to it. I'm like, it's not forever. And then at the end of that challenge, I'm like, how do you feel? Man, I feel amazing. Okay, here's what I want you to do. Tonight or tomorrow, I want you to go have a steak, potatoes, cake, go out and just tie it on, have a drink, whatever, just go out and do your thing. And they do. And the next day they call me and they're like in bed, like sick, or they have cold and flu-like symptoms. And they're just like, they feel like they got hit by a Mack truck. And they're like, dude, holy crap, I didn't realize what that food was doing to me. See, now it's not me saying it.
Yeah.
Now they have first person experience, the stuff that they were holding on to because of the emotions, because of those emotions, because the emotions from, you mentioned childhood. I've coached over 600 people through this process in a one-on-one setting, and close to 60% of them had been molested by by people, and a lot of them were family members.
Wow.
It's insane. I couldn't
Yeah.
believe the child, or dad threw me through a window. Dad threw me over a fence. Dad slapped me and knocked me off the roof because I wasn't doing the right thing when we were roofing. Weird stuff, you know. A guy, his mom was a druggie, and four of her boyfriends molested this kid, and all she would feed him was eggs and mayonnaise.
Jesus.
And now
Christ.
today he can't eat an egg, or he doesn't like sauces at all. Horrible traumas that people are carrying around. And you mentioned it earlier too. This is why what Dr. Clement said, they'll have a cowboy from Calgary, Canada, that's like literally lived on the range, had coffee next to a barbed wire fence and steak and potatoes out of a campfire, and they get cancer too. And when Western medicine fails them and there's nothing left to do, some of those old boys find their way to the Hippocrates Health Institute in a last-ditch effort to save their butts. And what'll happen is as they're going through this detoxification period, about day 3 or 4, they'll be getting a massage, and all of a sudden those emotions are coming up, and there's no food to stop it. There's nothing in the way. The pathway is clean, and they start crying uncontrollably for an hour to 2 hours, and they can't stop, like literally convulsing, crying, bawling. They get up, the table's soaked, they're apologizing to the nurse or to the massage therapist, and the massage therapist is like, no, you have no need to apologize to me. This is why you came here.
Yeah.
You have just detoxed emotions, and crying is a really good thing. If there's men out there listening and you think that crying is for sissies, crying is smart. Crying is very intelligent because you're actually detoxing the emotions that are stored in your cells.
Literally, the tears have the stress hormone in them. You're literally getting it out.
Yes. And all I can tell you was it made sense to me, but I hadn't had that. In 2013, I went back to the Institute, this time for me, because I was there the first time for Charles. I was there for me. This is the first time I put me first and for anything, because I had kids and wife and mortgage and all this stuff and commitments. And I went there and I met quite a few good friends. Adam, who invited me up to Canada to his wedding. He's one of my best buddies now. And then this gal named Crystal. And Crystal we were just at the pool hanging out, and nobody was around. And she was telling me about her boyfriends and how they were, like she would get into these relationships just for sex, but it just wasn't enough. And then she's like, I'm all effed up. And she starts crying, and just it came out. And I'm like, I'm a human being. I got emotions. So I grabbed her. I'm like, it's okay. And then all of a sudden, I started crying. I don't know where it came from. And just like, I started bawling. I didn't even know her for maybe 3 days. We're holding each other just tight, just crying and crying for like 45 minutes to an hour. I actually went through that process. And afterwards, we're like soaked. We're like, oh my God, what just happened? It was crazy. We kind of bonded in that moment. And all I could tell you was I walked away from that like I was flying around on like a magic carpet. It was like 20,000 pounds of weight was lifted from my shoulders that I didn't even know I was carrying. I was so used to it. It was my way of living. I didn't know what it was. And to even make this point even more, I come back home. I was still a financial advisor at the time. And every week I would go down and get a massage from the massage therapist that was in our building. And I walk into the room, and normally this is how it goes. Hi, Tim. And she was a Reiki master too. Okay, just so you know. Hi, Tim. How are you today? So good to see you. Just get comfortable. I've got some beautiful music playing. I've got clove essential oil in the diffuser. You're going to love it. It's awesome. I'm excited to work on you today. And that's how she talks every week for a year and a half. I walk in this time after my visit at Hippocrates. I open the door and she goes, "What happened to you?"
She can
and I'm just
feel
like,
it and see it.
like totally freaking me out. I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Something is major has happened in your life." And what is it? And I'm just like, I'm like, seriously, I'm like, what are you talking? I don't know what you're talking about. She goes, "Well, what's going on?" I said, "Well, I went to the Hippocrates Health Institute and, and I went through this stuff." She's like, "Oh, okay. Well, you're gonna have to tell me more later." But she goes, "You don't know this, but I schedule you as my last client for the day. Do you know why?" And I'm like, "No." She goes, "Because when I'm done working on you, I'm exhausted.
She has to go ground and refuel.
I'm completely exhausted."
Wow.
She goes, I couldn't possibly work on somebody else. So I'm very excited to work on you today." I'm like, okay. I feel like a deer in the headlights. I know what's going on. I get down there. She works on me. And then afterwards, I'm like, are you okay? She's like, no. She goes, I could work on you all day long.
Oh.
So tell me, Tim, what really happened there? What was going on? And she just kept peeling the onion and finally, figuring it out. And I told her, and what it was that I was going through a massive child custody battle. And I was like, very competitive in everything I did in sports. And I didn't, and I was like, it was like, okay, I've got 8 days, or she's got 8 days and I got 7. Then she's like, the kids are young. I need more after a year. And I'm like, we want to go to 9 and 6 or whatever. And I'm like, okay, they're little. They could spend more time with their mom. That's fine. And then 2 weeks later, she's like, we need to go to 10 and 5. And I'm like, hold the brakes. We ended up in child custody battle. And we ended up in, we went to, what do you call it? A therapist, right? And this therapist gave me a book called Caught in the Middle, Children of High Conflict Divorce. And I remember reading it, and they said if the kids even know anything about it, like if you're fighting in the room with them, you are destroying them for the rest of their life, basically emotionally. And I remember arguing with her on the phone, and then I heard she was in her car driving, and I heard the kids in the back. I'm like, are the kids with you? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, conversation's over. And she's like, don't you hang up on me. And just like, I had to hang up. So they were right in the middle of it because they'd come stay with me and like, mom says that you're spending all this money on lawyers and da-da-da. I'm like, you're 10 and 8. You guys shouldn't even, she's like, got them. They're all involved in it. And so I called her up and I said, talk to your lawyer, have her call my lawyer. I'll sign whatever you want. You can have full custody. I'm out. And she's like, what are you talking about? What are you trying to pull on me? And I'm just like, I'm not trying to pull anything. You win. I said, the bottom line is I read this book and you and I are fighting and it's not good for the kids. I'm in it for the long haul. I'm out. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do.
Actually love your kid. Not that she didn't, but you get it.
This is before I went to Hippocrates. I'd carried this crap around. When I cried with Cristal, I let it all out. I was carrying this stuff around because the story goes, it gets way worse and the stuff that I had to go through with this thing and like appointments and weird stuff, but it was a lot. Okay. And like my friend told me, he's like, I can't believe what you went through. He goes, that was ridiculous, but it makes you stronger. Right. So anyway, I was able to release all that. So for those of you listening out there, you may or may not know of emotional baggage that you had from childhood, or maybe there was a death in the family, or maybe you were raped or beaten, or dad did something, or an uncle did something, or a brother or sister did something to you. And it's okay. It's okay. That's literally in the past. The past doesn't exist. We need to work on that and face it so that you can reframe it and realize that now you'll have a spiritual strength like nobody else. And you can take that and it can be like your nuclear power source to fuel you to do everything that you become literally an unstoppable person. And you turn it around, it becomes a benefit to you, becomes contrast, not something bad that happened to you, but contrast that allows you to know more of what you want to do. And maybe you want to make sure, nope, that never happens to anybody else again. Like maybe like the Mothers Against Drunk Driving, right? Her daughter gets killed by a drunk driver. She goes into her daughter's bedroom. She builds that whole organization, right? Pissed off women. They'll move mountains.
Yeah, we
right?
will. That's exactly what I teach too. And this release is really important. We don't realize that whatever people think about their spiritual or emotional mental bodies, they exist and they're storing things just like our physical bodies are, and that just like our physical bodies are, they're storing them until the time when it is safe and okay, you're able to release them and deal with them. That's why you have cleansing symptoms when you do cleanses and things like that, because you're releasing toxins that have been in there for who knows how long. And it's the same with emotional, right? You're like suddenly have this space like, okay, it's going to come out, and you're like, well, that sucks. I don't want to cry or be angry or be fearful again. It's like, yeah, but on the other side, like you just said, there's a huge
get excited about it.
Like, yeah, it's beautiful.
Cry your face off.
It's better than
awesome.
you've ever had before.
Yeah.
Well, I want to hear too, and I know we're running a lot in the time, but I want to hear because people are going to want to know, do you have like a sort of protocol that people can use to like see which products are best, or like what order to do them in, or whatever that they can get on your
absolutely.
site? Tell us about all that.
Yeah. Well, everybody's individual, but I would say We do. We have manuals for stuff like this. So the Core 4 Secrets is the first thing I would start you on, and people can get that free book. Just if they go to the website at chemicalfreebody.com and hunt around a little bit, it'll pop up. Just put your email in, they'll send it to you. And we have a lot of products, and we also do a lot of free information because I have my podcast, the Health Hero Show. I go deep on like intermittent fasting and proper food combining, and then I have a bunch of cool guests on, and I did an episode on sprouting and like colon hydrotherapy. And actually one of my favorite episodes is episode 61. I found this sauna that broke a natural law.
Oh.
It's like a whole nother technology level of saunas, and I was a sauna dealer, so I ditched the sauna that I was selling.
What is it, infrared? Or is it something
It's infrared, but the Taiwanese scientists were very spiritual, and through meditation, they downloaded these computer processors that broke Planck's law. It's Max Planck at the Max Planck Institute. So it's like Sir Isaac Newton's law of gravity. So it's that profound. Like if you and I just started flying around the room like Superman and Superwoman, that's basically the level of this sauna.
What?
And you get into it for like, good luck, 10, 15 minutes in the beginning, because it can actually double to triple your core temperature compared to the best wooden saunas. It weighs 33 pounds. You can take it with you. It's unreal, and it's like a third of the cost. You can get them for like $1,400 or $2,000 for the black unit. But the black or the silver doesn't really matter which one you get. But episode 61, I interviewed the owner of the company, went deep into it. It's quite profound. It's one of the best hacks I've added in the last year to my health.
Have you interviewed George Weissman about hydrogen expanded water / Brown's gas?
No, but I want to.
Yeah, you have to do it. He
have to hook me up.
Rogue recently. He will happily come on your show, and
that would be
so
great.
Cool. Yeah,
that would be great. But
cool.
Anyway, back to the products and stuff. So I'll show you guys how to get a discount. So what you do is you go to the products tab, scroll down to savings bundles. Now, if you want to stick your toes in the water, we have this thing called the Jumpstart bundle. If you want to go all in, I have a product bundle called the Total Energy and Detox bundle. That's what I take on a monthly basis, and I also take our turmeric product. Which is a breakthrough in anti-inflammatory. There is no turmeric product. I can't get into all of it right now, but it's like it goes right through the mucous membrane in the mouth, right into the bloodstream. It does not go through the digestive tract. There is no black pepper needed. I repeat, there is no black pepper needed.
Someone
because
in the
we are
chat
not
uses it and was really excited about it earlier too. Like, you have to try the turmeric thing.
Oh, so they're already using our turmeric?
Some people are, yeah. Someone else did your 30-day something and was raving about that. So some of these people already love you and know you.
Yeah, we actually have a functional medicine clinic in Texas that it's their go-to for anti-inflammatory. One of the nurses heard me on a podcast, tried it. It worked for her situation. She shared it with the docs down there, and now the whole clinic's using it.
That's awesome.
So we literally have the most powerful supplements on the planet. And thanks to Dr. Treadway, our formulator, and we do everything right. We do it the right way. But anyway, so the savings bundles, that's the way to get a discount up front. Long term, we have the subscribe and save. That's how you get it on a monthly basis every 45 days. You pick the time period. That's the cheapest. But at checkout, if they put the code in Rogue Ways, which I will do, I will make that right after we get done here.
Ooh, I'm so
Rogue
excited.
Ways, then they can get an additional 5% off. That way they can get a double discount, and we have a double your money back guarantee on all of our products because I'm pretty confident in them that they're going to work for probably about 98% of you up the middle. And if you have a product or something that doesn't work, call us. We'll refund your money, but we'll get on the phone and ask questions. Say, hey, this didn't work. Please help me.
Yeah.
And myself or another coach will assign to you, and we will help you. Because the reality is our products, we will have a lot more soon, but we're a small company. We're going as fast as we can. Everything goes back into the business. I live like a pauper. I'm just trying to get this stuff done because it needs to be done. But the reality is like our products are just part of the toolkit. Literally, that free manual that I'm sending you is the foundation. The water, the chewing the food, the avoiding liquids with meals, and the breath work. This stuff works so well. It's so profound that when we ship stuff because of COVID to Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, whatever, it can take 2 weeks, a month sometimes to get there. People are I have emails every day. Like, my gas and bloating is getting better. My energy's up. My mental quality, I'm sleeping better. They don't even have the products yet. They got the manual and they started practicing those core 4 secrets. Wow. You have got to get the foundation in place before you start building the walls. Otherwise, if you build your house on sand, it's just not going to work that well for you, right? So get on the phone with the coach. We'll even send you to other companies because we know how to read labels. We'll teach you how to do that. And then we go through. I know other companies, and then they have 20 products, but 2 of them are really awesome. The other ones I went in touch with a 10-foot pole. We'll hook you up with those 2. And then we make sure that every time you buy, you read the label and make sure they didn't change it.
Yeah, that's such a huge practice to be in. It's absolutely true because it'll change all of the time. okay, now everyone wants to do colonics, hydrogen therapy, like all this stuff. I love
That's good.
having the health episodes because it reminds me of the things I need to get better at, because this is the other thing we do is we're like, okay, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing so good now, and then we sometimes slip back on that a little and we stop adding anything. Well, like you still have more you can do. Like keep going, right? And
Yeah.
I definitely do. I need to chew my food first of all. But
That's good. You should chew your food. It's a game changer.
it's
The
like
other thing we offer is we offer one-on-one coaching, so people can go to the coaching tab and get a free 30-minute session if anybody is looking into that. And then we also have a group coaching community that I lead weekly. So I'll give you guys a little secret hint. I've never done this before in any other show, but if you or when you buy the products and you hit the checkout button, you're going to get a one-time offer to join the group at 80% off. You'll never see it again because we want to incentivize people to join the group so I can kind of hold your hand for at least 30 days or 60 days, 90 days as you're beginning the process. And you'll get full access to all the manuals, the gut detox guide, the proper food combining notes. I've got a bath recipes. We've got even in that manual that you get for free, there's recipes in there, food recipes, and one of my cheapest, most powerful gastrointestinal healing liquids you could possibly put in the body. That recipe's in there, but people can get all that stuff. My formulator actually comes on once a month. We do Talk with the Doc, and then I do a special guest. So that's a really good one because every week we go live, we do a topic, and we do live Q&A with the group. And I've got a lot of alumni in there that they're kind of like, they've just been following my lead, and now they're answering questions in the chat for people. They know it as well as I do, and they're healing themselves. We have cancer patients, we have people with Hashimoto's, we have people with MS, we have people that are athletes trying to recover better or trying to make weight. We have people just trying to lose a few pounds, get their mental fog back or out of there and get their mental clarity back. It's a mixed bag, but just everybody's awesome. Our community is so cool because everybody's just like sick and tired of being sick and tired, and they get results, and we're all supportive of everybody. So it's really cool.
That's so cool. Well, and the mental fog thing is huge too because you don't realize how much mental fog you have until it's gone. Because that's one of the bad things about mental fog is it's like you're so foggy, you're not even really sure like what it's supposed to be like. Well, I know we could talk forever and ever. It's amazing. Your story's amazing. Your products are amazing. I know I'm about to go buy a bunch of them using the Rogue Ways code. I'm sure a lot of other people are too.
Yeah, and just as soon as this hangs up, I'll go make that code. So you see this right here. I'm very, very proud of this product. It's in stock in our fulfillment center. We haven't hooked it up on the website yet, but we took that same process that we did for the turmeric, and we did it with this one. So we have this hyper absorbable product. This is literally 6 products in one. So my marketing guy said, don't do it. He said, make each one by itself because people will buy that. You could sell it and make more money. And I'm like, dude, I want to take this for myself every day, and I don't want to take 6 freaking things. And because of our process, we were able to make it so absorbable that I could get 6 of them in here. I would have put more, but that was kind of the max. This is literally vitamin A, like 10,000 international units equivalent of vitamin A, 5,000 IUs of vitamin D3. It's vitamin C, 1,000 milligram equivalent. It is quercetin. It is, which is from the Japona japonica flower. Everything's all natural in this thing. We have plant aminos, that Krebs zinc, not the rock form, which is the crappy one. And then also a complete multi-mineral formula. And it's all there. So, because we have everybody, because of the whole COVID thing, everybody was asking me, where do I get the best vitamin C? Where do I get the best D3? Where do I get vitamin A? Where do I get this? Where do I get zinc? And we put them all into one and made it hyper absorbable. And I've already tested this on myself for 2.5 months doing flavor testing until we got it right. And it took my health up a lot. And we have another product that's a mushroom product that'll be out soon called Multi-Shroom. So people will have to keep an eye. Once they become a client, we'll give you the code, or we'll let you know when it's available. They made it, but they screwed up on the flavor on this one. So we just got to wait. Wow. That's life. So it's in stock, but now we can't ship it. So they're going to have to remake it for me because I think they accidentally put the orange flavor in with the mushrooms, and it was supposed to be a chocolate flavor. And it's kind of like earthy and tangy. It almost tastes like it's like not good for you. Not, you know what I mean? I can distinguish it because my taste buds are there, but the chocolate one's ridiculous. It's delicious.
Yum.
So once we get that figured out, we'll do it.
I like things that taste good too.
Yep.
Yeah, so you feel better, it tastes good, you feel healthier all along, and then you're just heading upward the whole time. Well, it's very exciting.
So watch out for the V-Stack product because it's people are like, what's the V stand for? Like vitamins, victory. It doesn't stand for virus. That's not why we put it there. It's victory or vitamins.
Well, it's probably better than the Z-Stack too. It sounds like. I mean, the Z-Stack's probably fine, but V-Stack is bad. I don't know if you know the Z-Stack.
Well, Z-Stack, I mean, I'm glad they made it, but they used ascorbic acid, which is the synthetic version of vitamin C. The zinc is not chelated. The quercetin, I think, is fine. And I think they put D in there, vitamin D, from cholecalciferol, which is really good. I have vitamin D3 from cholecalciferol, which is a probiotic in Green 85. The two best are cholecalciferol, and the best is lichen. So we actually use the lichen form. It's super expensive, but like, again, we don't need that much. So for those listening, if you're programmed, like I have to have 5,000 IUs of this or 10,000 IUs of that, you have to understand that that's the thing that sucks about what I do is like, it's always this huge educational process, but it is what it is because you have to get educated. So if you're looking for 5,000 IUs of D3 and then you look on my product and you're going to be like, well, how come this thing only says like 166 micrograms? That's not even close. It's because it doesn't go through the digestive process.
Yeah.
It's going right through the mucous membrane, right into the blood serum, and right into the cell. It's not what you eat. It's what you absorb. We have to get this stuff into the cells. So when you take 5,000 IUs through like food or a supplement, only 10 to 30% of that is actually going to make it into the blood serum, and a very small amount is actually going to make it into the cells because people have cellular inflammation. They're not drinking enough water and they're dehydrated. So that stops nutrient absorption, and their fat membrane, the lipid membrane, is not that good because they're eating, all their fats are cooked. We have to have good quality fats like avocados and sprouted nuts and red raspberry seed extract and E3 live brain on. That's a really good great grandfather of omega oils, stuff like that, to build that good lipid membrane to get in there. So with all of our absorption issues and digestive issues, you got to take 5,000 to get 166 micrograms in the cell to get the results that are on all these papers. This process, that's why I don't have to put as much in there, because we make it super tiny. It's almost like nano stuff, but we do raw materials mechanically, make them super tiny. You don't need as much. That's how I was able to get 6 of them in there and give the equivalent of what you would normally have to buy a whole bunch of stuff and take a bunch of pills and do all that.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. I didn't know that, but it makes so much sense. Well, if people cannot feel and tell your passion is true and good and beautiful, then whew, I pray for them. So tell people about, you already told them all about the stuff they can get, but let's just say out loud again where to go to get it all.
Oh, at our website at chemicalfreebody.com. That's the best place to. And podcast is there. It's called The Health Hero Show. If you consume your podcast somewhere else, we're pretty much on like, I think 21 or 23 of all the major platforms.
Perfect. And it's below you wherever you're listening, watching, whenever you're listening and watching, that link, so you can just click over as well. I'm not joking. People know me well enough by now that like I don't just have people on and pretend to care. Like I'm really excited about this actually. So I am going to absolutely go try a lot of this because I want to feel better, just like.
Well, how about this, Lindsay? I don't do this all the time, but when I feel it, and I'm feeling it right now, how about we do a 90-day Lindsay challenge?
Ooh, I like that.
I'll even privately coach you, no charge. We'll do 15-minute little strategy sessions every week for the first 30 days, just to kind of make sure you're off and running. Yeah. And then you can just text me whenever, and then have me back on the show in 90 days. And then you can have first-person experience on what it was like working with me and how you feel on the products and any recommendations I give you. How about that?
I would love that. That would be fantastic. 90-day
and then we can
Lindsay
talk about
challenge.
whatever else you want to do.
That's
and
perfect.
If there's anybody listening that wants to do it with her, you just call her and say, what are you doing? And just copy her.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I'll share it though. If that's cool with you, I'll share with people.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
so we'll do updates along the way, and then you can come back in 90 days.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted. I love it.
You could actually join the group coaching too. Well, we'll have you get in the group coaching community at least for that time, and then we'll. I'm excited.
That makes me really happy. I have some health issues and some other things to deal with, so that's really good.
Cool. We'll talk about all that. Let's get you moving forward.
Cool.
There's always where there's a will, there's a way, and as long as you're looking in nature, you're probably going to figure it out.
Agreed. Well, speaking of that beautiful sentiment, what are your final thoughts or words of wisdom that you want to leave people with before we say goodnight?
Put yourself first. Number one, you have to put yourself first. Years ago, if somebody would have asked me, who's more important, Tim, you or your kids? Knee-jerk reaction and heartfelt, my kids are more important than me. If somebody asked me that today, I'm going to say me. I'm more important today. And why? Because I want my children to put themselves first. That's why. I lead by example. I don't tell people to follow me. Hey, follow me on social media and follow me. I don't want people to follow me. I want you to follow my example. That's what I want you to follow. Mama bear shows baby bear what to do. She's like, in the fall, we're going to eat these salmon over here, and there's berries, and we're going to dig this log in the spring and eat grass, and we're going to pull the grubs out. And there's a big male bear, run. She shows him the ropes by doing it herself. So I see, especially women, I see so many women, they put themselves last. They're taking care of their husband, trying to keep him happy. A lot of them are working a job now too, or have a career or a business, and they're trying to raise the kids, take care of aging parents with all the Alzheimer's and dementia going on and soccer practice, all this stuff. And then they don't take care of themselves, nurses especially, because they have their job demands are crazy. There's a lot of people like that. And then guess what? A wheel falls off and they're in the hospital and they go into a broken situation and they can't help anybody. If you really want to give your kids the best permission slip in the world, you put yourself first and you let them know it and you show it and you take damn good care of yourself. And even if you haven't up to this point and you go to them and say, I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to do this, everybody's going to probably go, whatever. You don't have to even say it. Just, you can go to them and say, hey, look, I'm making some changes in my life. Don't worry. It's not going to affect anything you're doing. I'm not going to tell you to make any changes. I just want your support. Will you give me that? Sure. That's the best thing to do. Don't try to, and then lead by example. Do that. And that's what I did. Like with my wife, I just came back and said, I'm going to do all this stuff and we're going to juice. And then Charles is going to heal himself of cancer. It's amazing. She's like, he's crazy. He's lost it. But 7 months later, the juicer turned on all by itself. And I walked into the room and she was making the juice. And I was like, what are you doing? She's like, I'm making our juice. I was like, oh, okay. And documentaries help as well. But put yourself first. You really need to do that. And we all need to do this. That's how it should be. So give yourself some love. Give yourself a big hug and start putting yourself first. Carve out some you time.
This is what I've been doing for myself and telling people to do for themselves too. So we're on the same page. Very good words of wisdom. And fellow travelers of the path, it is a beautiful thing. And this has been your analog electric concentric dose of wisdom according to the chemical-free health hero, Tim. And Tim, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. It's been a pleasure.
Lindsay, thanks for having me. And listeners, thank you. I hope you put yourself first. And I love everybody. I love everybody. Thanks for listening.
Oh, I love the love. Well, the one thing we don't want to cling to is food beliefs and diet belief systems. If you've got a philosophy, awesome. Use it well. Make sure to keep checking in on it and see if it's still working. It may work fine forever. It may serve you for a time and then require some updating, and it may heal you now and hurt you later. So always be willing to shift as your body needs and listen to your mind, your heart, and your soul when they begin to tell you what's working and what's not. And until you master the ultimate navigation of eating and wellness, travel well, aim for balance, and always look inside first. Mwah.
Nasty motherfuckers with a hook and a sickle. Brought to you advertisement, bone plated nickel. Fire rate automatic smash from the get-go. Snack on the whack, fermented flesh disco. Abracadabra, archaic altars don't slabber. Hey, making jabbers with reality backwards. Hunting rap nerds, bodyguard collected actors. Munitions are famished, let them feast upon the dapper. Bloody bibs and muddy kicks, feasting on amygdalas. Iron fist, tyrant shit, APO will rip you up. The rhyme rainmaker, Bane style backbreaker. Genghis-Khan depleted uranium satellite lasers. Cloaked in anonymity, I know you never heard of me, no rusted tools used for Crowley style surgery.
Dissect a whole set, God body. God taught me to dissect the whole body. When it gets sloppy, I'ma get there. Rhymes rare like steak, get crushed like crates to create 52 states. And it's Baghdad, dust to towels, no rags. Straight melt dash, dust to ash. Turbans while the niggas perkin'. It's on purpose, my service touches the sun's surface. And rainbows touch serpents. My light all night shines so bright. I'm a star for eons, Hollywood's for peons. Cause they try to copy the same shit we on. Hey, I ain't done yet. Lungs depleted and can't breathe, can't believe it. Trying to seek it while trying to peep it. It's a secret. Now you're nobody. Label somebody. Trying to claim John Gotti. It's yours truly, God body.